Yes, Kenya. Tamu sana, tamu sana, tamu sana, yes. Earlier today, Raila Odinga called for talks between the government side, the opposition, and other stakeholders. And the remarks by Raila Odinga have caused serious political debates across the board, with some Kenyans and some Gen Zs calling Raila Odinga Amsaliti, a traitor. I want us to dig deep into that for Kenya to understand the high-octane politics being played here and where the truth lies. Before we do that, I want us to first listen to Raila Odinga, after which we are also going to listen to a Gen Z speak after Raila made those remarks calling for dialogue. Let's listen to Raila Odinga.
But I'm happy to confirm that we have had consultations, and after extensive consultations, we have agreed that a dialogue is the way forward out of the crisis that we're having today in our country. We've agreed that we give people an opportunity to be heard, to express themselves, to come out with the grievances which are actually ailing our country today, so that a lasting solution can be found. Because of restrictions of resources or limitation of resources, we've agreed that everybody else will bear the cost of coming to this meeting. But we want it to be a really very engaging conversation on the way forward, so that we deal with fundamental issues that are affecting our society today.
That was Raila Odinga as he called for dialogue. Immediately after making those remarks, a Gen Z responded. Listen to this.
Agwambo, what are we bonging with them? Like, on a serious note, what are we bonging with them? You've been bonging. We can do these dialogues, and you know how they end. Kenyans are not ready for that again. Tunasonga to go to 2024. Sisi tumesema as Kenyans. Hakuna leader. Hakuna mambo ya dialogue. Because we've been doing this. They know what we want. Jamani, we have aired our issues for over 4 weeks now, over years, like from our ancestors and whatever, so they know what we're like against. So tafadhali, let's not bong again. Let's not bong. Instead, let's see implementation.
Yes. The Gen Z is saying a big no to dialogue. And for those who don't know, that's the Gen Z who on the first day the protest broke out, called on Raila Odinga asitokeleze. She said they were to fight on behalf of Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga asitokeleze. Listen to this.
Agwambo, this is a message to you. Usitoke, don't come. Agwambo, please stay at home. We saw your efforts, okay? We saw everything that you did for Kenya. Now let us. We miss you, but Agwambo, please don't even come outside. Don't come outside. Tunatoka on your behalf, okay?
Yes. That's an authentic Gen Z. Even though she disagrees with Raila Odinga's urgent request for dialogue, she's not calling Raila Odinga a traitor because she understands they are just building onto what Raila Odinga has been fighting for. Raila Odinga has been fighting for all these things Gen Zs are now fighting for. So she respects Raila Odinga. She's not calling Raila Odinga a traitor. That's one thing I'm grabbing from all this. What have I observed after Raila made those remarks? The first observation, Raila Odinga and the Gen Zs are speaking the same language. What Raila Odinga is calling for is what also the Gen Zs are calling for. So these people, Raila and the Gen Zs, they are speaking one language. The only disconnect, Raila is urging for talks or dialogue in order for William Ruto to implement the things Gen Zs are been talking about, or the things Raila has been talking about. Raila is calling for dialogue to discuss on how those things can be implemented. Gen Zs, on their part, they see no need of dialogue. Already they have laid their demands on the table. William Ruto should just implement. There is where there is a disconnect on how these things can be implemented. Raila wants dialogue, maybe so that they can agree on the implementation. Gen Zs are saying there is no need of dialogue. They have already laid their demands on the table. Ruto should move with speed to implement. Raila and the Gen Zs are speaking the same language. The only problem is how to implement the demands. The second observation, before Raila Odinga spoke calling for dialogue, some Kenyans were saying wamechoka na hizi maandamano sasa. And they were branding Gen Zs looters, wakora. If you look at those people very objectively, they are William Ruto supporters. So even as Gen Zs were protesting, some Kenyans were still supporting Ruto, saying sasa tumechoka na hizi maandamano. After Raila spoke, they are the loudest now saying Raila Odinga is a traitor, msaliti. I'm seeing some elements of hypocrisy. Not everybody who's shouting loudest is a Gen Z or supports Gen Z's plan of actions. Some are William Ruto supporters masquerading as Gen Zs. And these ones are the ones abusing Raila Odinga, saying Raila Odinga is a traitor. Any sane Kenyan cannot dare call Raila Odinga a traitor. The problem with Kenyans, we don't want to hear the truth. The truth is, an authentic Gen Z will respectfully disagree with Raila Odinga, but cannot call Raila Odinga a traitor. That's also something I've observed. Because this one's calling Raila Odinga a traitor, most of them are William Ruto supporters. Not all of them, but most of them. Another observation I've seen here, Kenyans don't want anything totally to do with William Ruto. And this should now go to Raila Odinga. As he calls for talks with Ruto, he should not embrace Ruto. Ruto is destined for destruction. Any person embracing William Ruto can easily go down with Ruto. So Raila has to be very careful as he calls for these talks. He should not embrace Ruto's government. That's a caste government. And I strongly believe a judgment is being passed on Ruto. Anybody supporting Ruto or embracing Ruto can equally taste that judgment being passed on him. That's also something I've observed. And also from what happened today, I honestly believe that this war should now not be left to Gen Zs alone. Let other Kenyans also support the Gen Zs in demanding for William Ruto to go. Ruto must go. That's the ultimate desire of a majority of Kenyans. So as Raila embraces Ruto, he should know the ground wants Ruto to go. They don't want Ruto to continue being at State House. That's also something worth putting across. But above all, Raila calling for dialogue does not stop Kenyans from protesting. It does not stop Gen Zs from piling more pressure on William Ruto to go. As dialogue continues, let the protest go on. Let dialogue continue, let the protest go on. Let politicians also talk among themselves. Let them also pile pressure on Ruto. So the dialogue being called by Raila Odinga is not in any way stopping Gen Z's protests. These are just additional pressures being piled on Ruto. That's something Kenyans should also know. This war can now not be left to Gen Zs alone. We should see more Kenyans, more groups piling pressure on Ruto. As I conclude, it's a fact. Revolutions are never a one-day thing. It takes patience and persistence. Gen Zs should not lose focus. The only way they will succeed in sending Ruto home is if they are on the streets. That's the only language Ruto understands. Ruto does not understand a dialogue. From what we have seen in the past, dialogues and talks, the only language he understands is the language of the streets. What Gen Zs did when they stormed and occupied parliament, that's the only language Ruto understands. So Gen Zs should continue piling pressure on Ruto, and they should be persistent and consistent. As they do that, they should also know there are also William Ruto sympathizers among them. And these ones are the ones calling Raila Odinga a traitor. An authentic Gen Z will never dare call Raila Odinga a traitor. Let me stop it there. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. If you are watching us outside Kenya, drop a comment, let us know from which part of the globe you are watching us from. If possible, subscribe, give the video a like. Let me hear from you on the comment section. God bless you.